Wanted to give you a little.
What's going on, guys? We'll give it a second to see if anybody rolls in here. I'm trying something a little different this time, so we'll see how this works. Hopefully it pans out. I'm going to try to see if I can pull up stream on the computer. See if I can see the comments here. Hang on a second. There we go. All right. Can y'all hear me okay? Messing around with a little different setup with the camera and mic and all that, so if it's too quiet, let me know and we will reconfigure. And the reason I'm looking down here, because I got the laptop pulled up so I can actually see the comments. All right, cool. We'll wait just a minute so I don't have to repeat myself. Because I can already tell by those of you that are in the comment section right now, I'll be preaching to the choir. So look here, you simmer down now in the peanut gallery. I'm looking at comments. I don't need to see myself. I can see myself just looking in the mirror. And if you want professional, you in the wrong location for that. Here, you get exactly what you pay for. Just saying. All right, so without wasting a lot of time, something I wanted to bring up just to point out to everybody. Again, I know most of y'all have already paid attention to it or you wouldn't be here, but on the chance that you're living under a rock and aren't familiar, haven't been paying attention, whatever, or have just been busy with life, as does happen, there was a shooting up in Virginia where the suspect used a suppressor on his handgun. And they wasted no time in blathering that all over the media. They got the president to chime in on it. And not only did he say he's not a fan of him, but then in another interview, he stated that they're going to look into seeing what they can do about them and potentially banning them, whatever. The problem here, yeah, Quasar, I've heard mixed stories on that. I've heard it both ways. I've heard he did have it on and I've heard that he didn't. Regardless, the point here is it appears they may be trying to fix and to go after him. What I find odd is the Hearing Protection Act, which was a new bill in Congress to get suppressors removed from the NFA list and basically treated just like any other firearm, had actually recently gained a lot of traction and looked like it might actually have a good chance of getting out there, possibly even for a vote. It's odd timing that about the time that bill gains traction, this happens. Now, I'm not saying that the two are connected or related. I'm just saying that it's one of those things that it kind of makes you go, Irregardless, the problem here is if they do go after them, it would appear on the surface, and again, this is subject to change because we're talking in hypotheticals right now, that it may try to go after them the same way that they did bump stocks. And I've got friends that are on both sides of this coin. So I'm not picking on anybody here. I'm just pointing this out for posterity and future reference. I've never been a fan of bump stocks. Didn't like them. Just saw them kind of as a gimmick and honestly a waste of ammo. I don't have the money to waste that kind of ammo. They're pretty impractical for real use, etc. However, I did not like them banning them for all intents and purposes. And I especially did not like the way they went after them. And this is what I tried to point out to people. The way that bump stocks were made illegal set a very dangerous and bad precedent. That was the problem. That was the big issue that was going on with what was happening there. Now, you've already let that cat out of the bag, and they can go after other things, suppressors, whatever, arguably far more easily using the same tactics than they did bump stocks. This is what we need to be paying attention to. Every little increment is bad. I've seen people use the line and say, well, you know, if we give them bump stocks, they'll back off on this. Or if we compromise here, then they'll compromise. No, that never happens. If you look at the history of gun control, the only compromise that has ever been done has been on our side. We have never gained anything. The other side has never compromised anything. If you want to call it compromise, they might have backed off on how hard they restricted things, but things still got restricted. We're the only one that gives up anything by compromise. There needs to be a no compromise stance on this stuff. And I've seen comments and read stuff online where, and I've been saying this for years, I've been saying for a long time, there are a lot of gun owners who are nothing more than liberals who happen to own guns, okay? There are a lot of people out there who have followed quite strongly the, I'm trying to think of a polite way to say it, but they're the hobbyists and the sporting guys. And you guys have, if you've been around, you've heard me rant about that before. The word sport and hobby should never, ever, ever be used in any way, shape, or form in connection with firearms ownership. Ever. At all. If you do, you're wrong. Period. Okay? Every restriction we've got, hello, sporting clause, can be tied to that kind of stuff. It is not a hobby and it's not a sport. When we do that, we water it down and we open it up to being restricted. Hobbies and sports can be restricted. Fundamental God-given rights can't be. So, even if you don't like suppressors, and I've seen tons of people commenting online on various social platforms that they don't care about suppressors. They don't own them, don't want to own them, don't see any use for them, blah, 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 so they don't care. This is what happens. It's that divide and conquer mentality. They're just going to pick little groups here and there and slowly whittle everything down until finally they can get to the big picture. And by then, everything's so divided. Hello, divide and conquer. How many thousands of years has that strategy been around and proven to work? But people won't do it. It's asininely insane. Example, again, binary triggers. I'm not a fan of binary triggers. I don't own any. I don't particularly see ever owning any. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with them. I don't have a problem with anybody else owning them. For me, they're kind of like bump stocks. It's a waste of ammo that I can't accurately control as well as I can a semi-auto gun with a regular trigger. And quite honestly, I've seen enough evidence to make the argument that you dramatically increase your chances for an out-of-battery detonation with them. Those have happened. Now, that doesn't mean that they're systemic, but it has happened, and not something I'm willing to risk. That said, I would scream from the rooftops if they made any kind of effort to restrict or otherwise ban binary triggers. The fact that I don't have them and use them, or don't plan to, is irrelevant. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be done. So I'll catch up on all the comments in a minute, guys. I see them going up the page right there. So I don't know where to go and how to get people to pay attention to this stuff. I've seen others comment about it briefly, but there's a reason why. Again, I'm still a small channel, okay? I didn't expect to be as big as I am now, but I'm still small compared to a lot of them. I got 7,500 subscribers. Big whoop. Most of the bigger channels have got, 750,000 subscribers or more. That said, I've reached out to one or two other channels on occasion just to try to set up a rapport with, and most of them honestly don't want to have anything to do with me. And the reason is, some spoken, some unspoken. You can watch their channels, and I'm not going to name them, but they'll use those words: hobby, sport, etc. I don't. Everything we talk about here on my channel and from my standpoint is the absolute, legit, fundamental reasoning of the Second Amendment. You all know what that is. If you don't, I suggest you find out. Let me know, and I'll do another video and educate you on the meaning of the Second Amendment. But to repeat myself, it ain't about hobbies and it ain't about sports. Sad but true. Until people wake up and get on that bandwagon and are willing to openly admit that this is not something that should be taken lightly and compromised with and even debated on, then we're at a lost cause. So just make sure you guys keep an eye on that. I wanted to get that out there first and foremost. So going back to Derek's comment real quick, from a couple of guys that I've talked to that have suppressors, one of the big quiet rumors going around is that they're looking at possibly, potentially, this is quiet rumor, there's nothing I can show you to back this up, so don't go spreading it all over the place like it's fact, but doing something akin to the 86 machine gun ban, in that they will stop making suppressors, new suppressors, publicly available. They'll close off the registry, and there'll be no new suppressors available for purchase or transfer. There'll only be what's existing on the registry, and that's it, which will cause, of course, just like with machine guns, prices to skyrocket and stuff. That's one of a couple of potential scenarios I've heard and seen bantered around. Others all the way up to and including no suppressors in public use, turn them all in. So who knows? At this point, I don't think you can rule anything out. Some ideas may be harder to push than others, but honestly, we can't rule anything out. Doesn't mean you run around screaming like a chicken with your head cut off. You stay calm, you watch what's going on, and evaluate things. Try to find as much information as you can. find legit concrete info on stuff, and then when it's time to shout from the rooftops, shout from the rooftops. I said shout, not shoot, for you that are hearing impaired. Because if the day comes we got to shoot from the rooftops, we've royally screwed up and failed big time. Just saying. Okay, let me catch up on some of these comments here real quick. Now that I've got that off my chest. Oh, let's see. I'm reading comments, guys, so bear with me here. I don't know what to say about that, zombie. I put out the little doohickey thingamajig that says, hey, you're going live, and all I can do is hope that everybody gets it. Let's see. Yeah, Craig, you're right. That's what I'm worried about. We're quickly running out of boxes to use, and yeah, running out of boxes. One other thing, current events wise, again, not telling you to run around and freak out and scream, but pay very close attention to the current Ebola situation and the info that's coming out on that, and or the lack thereof. The reason I say that is they've been dealing with a serious Ebola outbreak in the Congo and the Democratic Republic of the Congo for some time now. There was just a few days ago an ISIS attack that ISIS claimed responsibility for in the middle of all that area, which no doubt was simply to disrupt the ability for workers to be in there and treating and caring for people, etc. They have had cases, from an article I saw, already now reported in Fiji, which means it's traveling. That's the big fear, is when it starts to travel. Now, I've got a really good friend who is connected to the CDC. So he tries to stay on top of this kind of thing because he's very like-minded and give me info when he can. Now, obviously, anything he gives me, unless I can find a news article to back it up, is just going to be hearsay. So keep that in mind. But from what he was telling me the past few days, it is a serious issue that higher level people are extremely concerned about. And for some odd reason right now, we have a whole bunch of French-speaking migrants from the middle of Africa, aka the Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, that somehow have ended up in Mexico and are coming across the border with all the other illegals. So, as unchecked as all that is, think about that possibility of infected people with something like Ebola coming across the border en masse, unchecked and unnoticed. They get out in the population, and that kind of crap can spread like wildfire. So keep an eye on the news for anything you start seeing coming up about Ebola, and just keep an eye on it. Again, I'm not saying that it's fixing to turn into the next zombie plague, but I'm just saying it's something to keep an eye on, because there's stuff going on that ain't being talked about a whole lot in the open public realm. So keep an eye on that. Let's see. Thank you, Zombie. I appreciate it. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think of what else is going on in the news. I did get a short video recorded on the ATAX AUX pattern. I'm going to try to get that uploaded tonight. Um, see if I can get that done. That should be up live tomorrow if all goes according to plan. What else? Oh, I gotta find time to do it, but gotta give you guys a video on this. This is my youngest son's 9mm AR pistol. It is kind of a conglomeration of stuff, but we used a Stern Defense Glock mag adapter for it, and kind of pieced it all together. I think it's a little different than our other 9mm that like me and my wife have. So I want to get a video up on that and kind of show you guys that. Might be a good option if it's something that you're interested in. Might give you a little more versatility if you're on a budget, because using that Stern Defense you can get 2 guns in one. So I won't make this whole video about that, but as soon as I can get out and do that, I'll get it done. Let's see. That's weird, Zombie. I ain't never seen that. Have not ever seen that. Mike Perry, that is actually my tarp that I got from 0241 Tactical. Whenever I'm not using it for tarpy things, I hang it up behind me because I haven't had the time to actually sit down and make an actual backdrop to put up there. I'm going to make one. I've got plans for it. I've just got to get the material and sit down and sew it together and do all that kind of fun stuff. But that's just my tarp. That's all it is. I ain't got the funds to do all that expensive fancy stuff. That's why you ain't got a fancy camera and giving you this feed and studio lighting and green screens and all the other good stuff. We doing it simple here. Black Dog brings up a good point. Food. Keep an eye on the food situation out in the Midwest right now with all the rain and flooding that they've been having. That could potentially seriously affect crops and that sort of thing, because like the food that we're eating now and buying in the stores is typically food that was grown and processed last year. So this year's crops and food will be what we're buying and eating next year. And with all the rain and flooding, I've been seeing some interesting numbers that farmers have been really hampered by how much of their usual crop output they can actually get in the ground, how much yield they're actually getting because of all the rain, etc. So it's affecting crops, it's affecting to an extent livestock, but the livestock situation doesn't seem to be affected quite as bad as the actual crop side of it. So just something to keep an eye on. I don't think, again, I could be wrong, but I don't think we'll see like massive shortages per se next year. I think the bigger chance is we'll see prices on food go way up because the supply and demand will kick in. There'll be a lower supply and still a high demand. So it'll cause prices to go up. Let's see here. All right, I see John Smith. I saw where you posted something saying this was just a test, but now it says message retracted. Is that something you deleted, or did that get deleted on its own? That's curious. Very curious. Wait to see if you get a chance to respond. I want to get with my buddy Derek and have him on here and do an actual video and let him kind of give you guys some tips on how to get engaged politically, especially at a local level, because again, as I've repeated a lot, local level is where it starts at. Your sheriff, your city council, your county commissions, whatever, however you're set up. That's going to be where you got to start at. And I know a lot of you are like me. It's hard for our side to get politically engaged on stuff because we're the ones that are working our butts off all day long, taking care of our families, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have all this free time on our hands to go to rallies and go to this and go to that and sit online all day and be engaged in stuff, et cetera. We're all busy working, taking care of the families. That's always been something that puts us at a disadvantage, but there are a number of things you can do, even from our standpoint of being in that situation. So my buddy Derek does that for a living, and there's a number of ways we can do that. So that's another video I want to get done, kind of give you guys some tips and ideas of how you can get involved in stuff when you're doing that 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or 7 to 7 job, 5-6 days a week, and taking care of your family at night and trying to get some beneficial sleep somewhere in between. So anyway, all right, Black Dog, have a good one. Let me try to catch up here real quick. Hang on. Now, I don't think any Grumpy Prepper, just addressing your point, I think businesses do whatever business has got to do. All right, Zombie, have a good one. Appreciate you dropping in, man. If there are issues with food supply, next year, whenever, businesses do what businesses got to do. We've got to stay out of things like that and let the market dictate what happens. So if businesses need to close, they close. Yeah, you're right, Mr. D. Rice alone will get very old very fast. Rice is a good staple, but you got to have a lot of other stuff to go with it. Just eating rice by itself, that's kind of rough, and I love rice. But anyway, that's kind of the biggest things I wanted to ramble about. You guys got anything else pressing on your mind at the moment? Yeah, Campbell's a good old too. I mean, pretty much anything by itself constantly is going to get old. Unlike animals, as humans, we have to have a little bit of variety in our diet. Oh, the KS-47? Oh man, I gotta be honest. I like that KS-47 way more than I ever intended to. that I got that gun hooked up for a couple of reasons. Number one, I needed something to be able to demo my AK rigs with. I used AK mags, and I wanted to keep my controls and everything all the same since I primarily run ARs. And that gave me the ability to do that. I also wanted to see how that worked as an option for guys that were kind of in the same boat, that wanted to be able to run AK mags and ammo, but were AR-centric guys, etc. I never expected it to really be, oh wow, you know, that's right. I knew I like it. It's a gun and it's an AR configuration. I'm gonna like it. But the more I've shot it, the more I've liked it, and I find myself liking it way more than I ever intended to. It's continued to be 100% reliable. I have had zero feed function issues out of it. It's way more accurate than it should be. And in that 10.5-inch pistol configuration, it is extremely portable, very maneuverable. I'll say it's lightweight. I mean, it's light for what it is. It's not like when you get 30 rounds of 7.62 by 3.9 in it. It's not, you know, a little floaty paperweight. I mean, you've got some weight there, but it's not like heavy. It's lighter than a full-size AK, put it that way. For thick brush, man, it's hard to beat that little small package and that nice little 30 caliber round. In an urban area, again, that small portable package, really, really handy. Again, you're not looking to try to, you know, use it as a sniper rifle or anything, but if you can see a target out to 150, 200 yards even, you'll be minute a man with it and you can hit it. So I'm liking it a lot. I'm liking it a lot. In fact, my cousin is strongly debating selling his AK and getting one of the 16-inch KS-47 rifles to replace it with, because for what he could get for selling his AK right now, because it's a really nice older Arsenal SGL-21, he could buy like 4 or 5 of the KS-47. So that's a move he's pondering making. I got to get with him to see if he's decided yet what to do. Let me see here. Catch up on these comments. Smith & Wesson shields. I know quite a few people that run shields and they like them. I got nothing wrong with them. My number one handgun choice has always been a Glock. The M&P series from Smith & Wesson run a really, really close second with me. If you had to hand me one of those and say, all right, we're going to fight and this is all I got, I wouldn't hesitate for a second. M&Ps are great. So when it comes to M&Ps or Glocks, I think that comes down to which one do you like best, which one fits you best, which one do you shoot best. Buy it, get a bunch of mags, a bunch of ammo, and go train like mad with it. That's it. Let's see. Yes, I knew all about Brent's his RPK AR build. He was actually he actually called me right when he was first getting that upper, and I had the chance to get one too, but I had literally just completed my 20-inch version and wasn't where I could get another one at the moment, so I didn't jump in on that. But basically he did the same thing that I did. Not that he was copying me or anything, we just kind of had the same idea about the same time. but that's his version of the same thing that I did, and mine's my version of the same thing he did. So very, very similar, and we've both got similar ideas and roles for them. So let's see. Craig Pruitt. Yes, I want to do those. Um, I was supposed to go do, back in May, a class with my good friend in Sea Scout, and I was going to actually get some video footage done from that, which would have tied in to a new video. Unfortunately, I was stuck in the hospital and didn't get to go. So, as is always the case, every time I try to get that kind of stuff planned, something out of my control happens to shoot it down. There are definitely things on the patrol series that I want to get done. I've been broken recorded on that ad nauseum. And like this month and next month, honestly, are two of the worst months of the year for me, because every weekend there's stuff going on. I'm completely tied up during the week and can't take any time off because I'm sewing sun up to sundown, because I am so behind on orders right now because of my hospital stay. It's not even funny. It's driving me batty. Patrol series has not gone away. It's still on the to-do list. Yes, ARs are cheaper than AKs at the entry level right now, and that is a good thing. This is the first time in my life I can actually say, follow that old cliche of buy them cheap and stack them deep. Yes, Glock 19s are awesome. The old saying, all guns should be 9mm and all 9mm should be Glock 19s. Just saying. Michael, you know, you can say that, but if you think about it, on an AK, you've got to reach under and grab the charging handle and work it. So it's really no different on the KS-47. Just instead of reaching under and grabbing it, you're charging it from the traditional charging position. So it's not really that big of a deal. That honestly is not a hindrance. It's more of just a training and repetition issue. I guarantee you, you get out on the range, take a couple of classes, and get a bunch of live repetitions running it, it'll be second nature and you won't even notice it. Let's see. Pat Riot, yes, very much so. That's another thing. Again, you know, my buddy NC Scout teaches classes on communications and stuff for our purposes. So constantly keep checking over at American Partisan as well as Brush Beater, because he's always putting up stuff there. I'm going to get with him because we're trying to schedule him to come back and do some stuff for us. When he does, I want to try to get a little video done on that. That's kind of a bit of a conundrum, because when I do get him down to do some classes for us on that, I want to get some video done, but at the same time, I don't want to video too much of the stuff and then give it all away and then make people not want to go to his class. You need to go to the class and get it firsthand. So we'll see. But yes, communications should be high on your list. It is on mine, and I'm not afraid to admit that my friends and I are way behind where we need to be on that. I think probably safe to say for everybody. Die sheep, that's not a bad deal. If I didn't mention this already, sheep, if you're in the Jacksonville area, shoot me an email. Let's see. Mr. D, that's only been something that's recently happened. There's starting to be more adjustable braces and stuff out now. If you look at the SB Tactical, the SBA 3 and the SBA 4, those are all adjustable length braces for pistols. Okay, shoot me an email. Shoot me an email, Sheep. Um, Quasar, yes. Matt's going to be on again. Matt's going to get on with me as often as he can. Um, it's just time and schedule. It's just time and schedule. I've um, got one of the boys' birthday parties coming up here one weekend this month. I've got an event going on at church coming up one Saturday this month. I've got family birthdays coming up next month. Like I said, the next 2 months, getting a free Saturday to get much done is going to be hard to do. Very hard to do. Um, let's see. Oh, speaking of Matt. Speaking of Matt. Um, did y'all see in the news the couple of recent senators? I think they were state senators in 2 different states um, that were shot and killed recently. Just weird, unexplained incidents at their home, found dead, etc. That goes directly back to something, excuse me, that Matt was talking about in the last live video that he and I did together. Pay attention to that stuff, folks. Those are those little flames that start turning the heat up on things. Be very aware and cautious about that. Let's see. George Washington, the ATAX Arctic camo. There's not a whole lot out in that yet. I believe I know a little secret on that, but I'm not where I can share it just yet. There is some stuff going to be coming in that. But there's not a whole lot out right now. Part of it has just been demand, but I believe, I don't know when, so don't hold me to it in a quote or anything, but I believe you might see something coming out from 241 Tactical sometime in the not too distant future with the ATAX winter stuff. But any chance I got one of my AK rigs? I can go grab one if y'all want to. If you want to see it, I don't have anything. No, I don't have any. I've only got like 2 AK rigs for my KS-47. Is there something particular you need that you wanted to see on one, or? Okay, that might be easier because I'd have to run all the way back to the bedroom at the other end of the house to try to grab one and dig it out. And I don't want to leave y'all here for 2 or 3 minutes just staring at nothing. I ain't got any cool elevator music to do. Oh, cool, Sheep. All right, Quasar. Yeah, I'll have one handy next time or whatever. It depends there, Michael, what context you're looking at. I mean, to do that, it would imply that there was basically a forced draft, and at that point, you're drafting people in the military. It doesn't make sense to have 2 different weapons platforms like that. you don't want to train somebody up on one weapon and then down the road try to train them up on another one. Um, Logistically, it'd be a nightmare because then you've got to have armors that can handle both. You're going to have all the spare parts and stuff for them, magazines for them. Um, and then, as Quasar says, ammo supply. It's much easier to stock one caliber of ammo for a standing military. You really need to pick one or the other and go with it. So, yeah, I'll just say this based off of what Sheep just said. Anybody that tells you an AK doesn't make a good weapon is a fool and or an idiot. Anybody that tells you an AR doesn't make a good weapon is either a fool and or an idiot. That's pretty much it. Either one will serve you just fine. Both of them are generally inherently more accurate than 98, 99% of the human population is capable of physically utilizing. And both of them are far more reliable than most people give them credit for. Again, pick which one you like and run with it. An AR and 5.56 ammo is probably the number one most common rifle and caliber in the continental United States. 7.62 by 3.9 AK is probably the second most common. So either one, you're good to go. The one problem I used to have with AKs was the magazines, because the only way to get magazines was based off of imports. They had to come from another country somewhere. Reliable magazines, let's put it that way. When Magpul started making the PMags for them, that totally changed that equation. Now you've got Magpul making them, and you've got X-Tech Tactical making them. So that's two solid U.S. manufacturers of 7.62 by 3.9 AK mags right there that are not dependent on foreign importation. So you're good to go there. The only other concern there is the ammo, but right now there seems to be plenty of ammo coming in, plenty of good stuff to buy in stock. So rock on with whichever one. Yep, Das Sheep is spot on. So, Michael, it depends on what you've got the most of. Typically, for a new shooters, an AR might be a better choice simply because it's got a little bit milder recoil than a 7.62 AK. And sometimes the controls can be a little more user-friendly per se, and that's subjective, I know. I know smaller statured people, women, etc., some of them might have a little bit more trouble starting out on, like a 7.62 AK. Doesn't mean they can't, just generally speaking. But, honestly, whichever one you've got the most of, that's what I would have for somebody else. Sheep, that's a good training point, okay? So, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just bringing up because you pointed it out. Doing reloads, far too many people, and in the past, I was guilty of it as well, get wrapped up around what we see in videos, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, flat square range training classes of how fast you can reload a gun. Everything is done primarily. There are some training outfits that are kind of making the shift and changing this, but it's all done perfectly stationary, out in the open, squared up with a target. In real life, you're never going to fight that way. Even if you want to fight that way, you're not going to, because you're going to get shot and killed, and it won't matter. Your fighting is going to be done from behind cover, because I guarantee you, probably every one of you watching this, and myself included, when bullets start flying at you, your body will irreflexively move without any conscious input on your part to find something to get behind, on the ground, whatever. You're going to make yourself a small target. So that said, once you get behind cover and you're fighting from there, now all of a sudden doing that hyper fast speed reload is not really that big of an issue. As long as you can get the gun up and running and it don't take you 5 minutes to do it, you're good. A 4-second reload, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, you're back in the fight. So I encourage people not to get overly wrapped up about that speed reload issue. That's something that can be dealt and worked with. So if you can rock an AK, don't worry about it not being as fast on a reload as an AR, because it's a point of diminishing returns there, okay? You want to be efficient and quick, but past a certain point, it doesn't matter. I could go on forever about that. Let me look at some comments again here. Hang on a minute. Good AKs to get right now, John Smith. Honestly, sub $800, you got a hard choice. Believe it or not, the old simple Wassers still are something that most of the knowledgeable people that I know agree are good entry-level guns. Quite honestly, I know this is going to sound like I'm being a shill, but look at Palmetto State Armory's AKs. They're not going to win any popularity contest, but honestly, I think right now they're some of the best bang going. If you really want to get technical about it, I know Robski at AK-47 Operators Union has got one of the new PSA AKs. The previous AK that he had from them made it through his 5,000 round test. The current one that he's got is trudging right along. I think for the money, for the armed prepared citizen, Palmetto State Armory's AK is the one that I'd give a hard look at. I've already had some of you guys messaging me privately, wanting me to take a look at one of their AKs. So I might have to break down and try to get one and see what I think and bring that to you guys. But other than that, that'd be one of the things I'd be looking at as far as an AK right now. Let me back up here a little bit. Hang on. Mike Perry. Yes, I am unabashedly an ATAX IX fan. I think that's probably one of the most versatile patterns out there right now that works in an extraordinarily broad range of environments. It's hands down my personal favorite, especially for me personally and what I do, kind of being in a semi-rural area where I'm at. It works really well all the way out to where our property is at. That's all thick, heavy woods. It works well there. I can cover a really broad range of areas with the IX pattern. Close behind it would be the AUX. As I mentioned at the beginning of this live feed, tomorrow morning I should have my AUX video, the first one, Clue, up live, kind of give y'all an initial look at that. So yeah, that's definitely where I'm at. Let me see, scrolling through here. Das Sheep, you are correct. Lots of people get shot up in Force on Force. Let's see. Well, Zach, if that's what you're doing, I highly suggest you go ahead and go do it. Knock yourself out there, high speed. Michael, so show of force in the context of bugging out, holding the ground in a suburban setting. That's going to, well, if I, excuse me, Michael, let me address the idiot real quick. First off, the only way you would know that is if you were yourself. And number two, if you don't like it, go somewhere else. If you don't want to, I can help you with that. Want to see something funny? Back to serious stuff. Michael, that's going to depend on the situation. Context is everything, okay? It'll be highly dependent on the situation. That's why so many well-meaning folks doing videos on YouTube about the topic run into issues with what they're saying, because the context of the situation can totally change what you do or don't do. How far into it you are, the extent of it, the severity of the situation, what everybody else is doing, etc. It really there we go. One problem solved. There'll be times to be overt and there'll be times to be covert. You have to play it as it goes and with what you're presented, okay? Let's narrow down what you're saying to a bug out situation, right? That's going to depend on what's happening at the time and what's triggered you to have to bug out on foot that you can't drive, right? You're going to have to see what's going on around you. Are people running mad in the streets, or what's happening? Now, I think far too many people look at a bug out on foot as if they're just going to be strolling down the sidewalk, walking to wherever they're going, waving at the neighbors as they walk by, okay? And they're just going to have their little backpack on and diddy bopping down the road. I can't think of a single scenario where I would have to bug out on foot, that I couldn't be driving my vehicle, that's going to be the case, where I'm going to be diddy bopping down the sidewalk, waving at the neighbors as I go by. There's not a single case of that situation where I would be remotely concerned about freaking out the neighbors and them calling the police on me. If the police can be called on you and even show up and respond to that call, either one of those, the crap ain't hit the fan to where you're walking down the side of the road to get home. That's just a sad fact of the matter. So you can't treat it like a walk in the park and be worried about freaking somebody out. If it's that bad, you need to be avoiding as many people as you can, staying hidden as much as you can, i.e. concealment, and go from there. Again, if you want a really good visualization, if I can get the words out, read Angry American's first book in the Going Home series, where the lead character, Morgan, is doing just that, where he's getting home on foot. Angry American does a great job in that one of laying that all out and giving a good representation of what I personally think that's going to be like. Let's see. John Smith, don't worry about him. He's already been put to bed. Pat, 241 tactical tarps. That's one of the best things I can recommend. Unfortunately, there's actually a shortage right now of the material. So as I understand, they're trying to get more material made. I'm staying in touch with my buddy Sean over there on that because I need some more tarps myself. So if I find anything about that, I'll let you know for sure. Glock and roll. No, I've not heard anything new on that. Yeah, Michael, bugging in for a lot of people is going to be the way to go. Because if you actually have to go somewhere on foot, you're only going to be able to move as far and as fast as the smallest among you can do. So if you've got kids, your wife, whatever, you're not going to move any faster or further than what they can move. So that's going to be a challenge. Bugging in for a lot of people is going to be the way to go. Mitch Brown, absolutely. I've even said that in the idea of patrolling drills and stuff. Even if you've got a bug out location that you get to and you're having to do security patrols around it, I don't know of anybody that's got a big enough group. I mean, if you had 20 people, that's still going to be hard to get enough people to send out more than 2-man security patrols. And when you're out doing that, you're not looking for a fight. You're gathering intelligence. You're doing what the LRPs did in Vietnam, which my uncle was one, or the more recent LRS guys. You're out gathering information, just trying to see what's going on around you before it gets close to you. And if you get into a fight unexpectedly, your primary goal is probably going to be to break contact and get out of Dodge as quick as you can, not try to duke it out and stand up fight. Not unless you can determine real quick that you can win and end that fight really quick. But other than that, and especially in a bug out situation, you're going to be looking to avoid a fight and get out of one if it pops up quick. So just something to consider. John Smith, man, that depends. If you're having a bug out on foot, the bigger your group, the bigger footprint you're going to have. Both moving, whenever you have to stop and sleep. The plus side is safety in numbers. Another downside is that's more food, water, supplies, etc. Again, The slowest person in that group is going to be how fast you can move. So it's, pros and cons. Food preps. Try to do a little bit of everything. I've got the ubiquitous, buckets of beans and rice and salt and sugar and other staples like that. I've got a couple of the, I don't know what they're called elsewhere, but somebody here will call them like hurricane buckets. It's like a big bucket with instant freeze-dried stuff in it. I've got actual freeze-dried stuff like Mountain House. We've got a little bit of a few MREs, that sort of thing. Lots of canned foods in the pantry. Just kind of a little bit of a smorgasbord, across the board of short-term and long-term stuff. Nowhere near as much as I want, but I don't think I'll ever reach the point where I don't think I'll ever personally reach the point where I feel comfortable in saying, yep, we've got enough food, because I don't think there's any such thing as enough food. Since you guys are talking about rain gear, let me throw this out there to you. I apologize for the background noise, but unless you're in a really cold situation where colder temperatures are a concern, probably the vast majority of the time, you're going to want to forego the rain gear other than sleeping at night. I know here in the southeast, in warmer weather, for a good part of the year, you will be more wet from having rain gear on than you will if you were just out in the rain. I've tried it all. I've used lightweight, thin rain suits, pants and jacket top. I've used a poncho. I've used all of it. I haven't had a single one that, oh snap, who's that just logged in? Somebody's ears must have been burning. You're gonna get wet. And I'd rather be wet from rainwater than I would sweat. Because all that sweaty salt, sweat is impurities from your body, okay? I'd rather have rainwater on me than that much sweat. The trick is get clothing that doesn't retain moisture as much and will dry out quickly, i.e. Things like synthetic clothing, nylon, polyester, blends. That's why I like Nyko BDUs. That's why I like True Specs, like their 24/7 pants that are all polyester. Polyester or polycotton, nylon cotton, blend base shirts and underwear. Things that when they get wet are going to dry out quick. That's your better option than trying to stay dry. Now, if it's an issue in colder weather, then yes, but then you're not going to be worrying about overheating as much than you would in warmer climates. So it's kind of dependent on that. Let's see. Yeah, the bigger thing, if you can change your underwear and your socks on a regular basis, then you're good to go. Yes, and you will only get prickly heat once to be enough for you to say you never want it again. I bet you my good friend there at Bishop 30 Solutions can vouch for that. Christopher, Mr. West, that's a tough choice, man. On the surface, I'd say M&P, but those CZP-10s are mighty attractive looking guns. So, that'll come down to personal preference there. Michael, yeah, that's always been a good option. My buddy JC Dodge at Mason Dixon Tactical has got an article on his blog. Um, One of his, if he has to bug out on foot, options is a game cart, one of the kind that's got the larger off-road type tires that you take out in the middle of the boonies to haul back a big animal carcass with. He can throw his main ruck and a bunch of supplies on that and move with it and have a smaller pack on him and actually cover a lot of ground pretty quickly with a lot of gear. Mr. D, yes, that's why you should always have a spare change of clothes and at least a couple of extra pair of socks and underwear in a waterproof bag in your pack. That way, whenever you stop to sleep, be it nighttime, daytime, whatever, you take your wet clothes off, you hang them up to dry, put your dry clothes on to sleep. Then when you get back up, you put your dry clothes back in the waterproof bag, put your wet clothes back on if they're still wet, which hopefully if you get the synthetic stuff like I mentioned, they'll be dry overnight, overday, whatever, and you drive on. Let's see. Yep, food, water, socks, maybe a spare pair of underwear. Let's see. Pat, I've got a little one-man tent that I like using. Now here in the Southeast, um, year round, just about, you will sleep in a tent or at a bare minimum under a tarp and a bug net. Otherwise, you ain't sleeping. What I like to do, because of the bug situation, is have my little one-man tent and a tarp, and then I put the tarp partly over the tent and then partly off of the tent, which gives me a dry area to sit underneath it but outside of the tent. So that way I'm not worried about sitting up in the tent, but I can sit up outside it underneath the tarp and still be under shelter. And with lightweight tarps and stuff like we've got now, that's a no-brainer to have a small one with you. Yes, Glock and Roll. I mentioned that at the opening part. Very much keep an eye on that. Quasar, your bug out bag's almost 90 pounds. That means you're doing it right. I bet you won't hear too many channels tell you that. Yep, foot pattern, moleskin, all those little things like that. Oh, Michael, I think it's a great idea. We've actually got that. Um, my youngest son's got a bolt action 223 and same caliber as our ARs. So in a pinch, we can shoot the same ammo in either gun. That's why it's so nice now. There's a couple of bolt guns out in 7.62 by 3.9 for AK guys. They can have a bolt gun that runs their same ammo. London Bridge trading stuff's usually pretty good, in my experience. I've not seen any problems with it. Yeah, you can get away down here easily with a tarp and a bug net. That's that's easy peasy. I mean, and you can get good bug nets all over the place cheap. I mean, I think like Five Star Gear has got two different size bug nets for like $10 maybe. So nope, 90-pound pack is probably spot on if you're actually planning on bugging out any kind of distance, because that's the only way you're going to have enough supplies to do anything more than about 2 or 3 days. that's the sad reality of what people don't get. If you're going to bug out on foot, a little 20, 30-pound pack, you're not going to make it. People do not realize the amount of stuff you're going to need to carry as far as food, water, medical supplies, clothing, shelter, tools, any kind of distance. It's not going to be taking a walk on the Appalachian Trail. You can go anywhere on the Appalachian Trail, and within 2 days, you can be at a place where you can get supplies. If you're bugging out on foot and you got to carry a pack, you might as well pretty much guarantee yourself or get it in your head, there's no supplies, there's no resupply. Whatever I got's all I'm going to have. I might be lucky enough to forage and scrounge something along the way. That's why I always keep saying, if you've got a bug out location to go to, you better make sure it's not very far away, i.e. more than about 2 or 3 days walking distance, or hope that you can use a vehicle to get there, because most people are going to be sorely disappointed when they try to take their little 30 or 40-pound pack and do what's supposed to be a 3-day walk, and suddenly it turns into a week-and-a-half walk. Why? Because it's not a walk in the park down the sidewalk waving at your friends as you go by. If you're walking on foot, the proverbial crap has royally hit the fan, and there's bad stuff going on. Hopefully, it'll be, if it happens, God forbid, it'll be where we can still use vehicles to get where we're going, at least initially. Just saying. There's always going to be that one. Yes, Israel bombed the USS Liberty. America firebombed the city of Dresden. You know what? Crap happens in war. There's the one I was waiting for. Israel did 9/11. Yes, it's always the Jews, the evil Jews. It's always the Juden, evil Juden. Lord of mercy, guys, we are rambling on forever. I did not mean to go this long. All right, so shameless plug. Look here, y'all go visit that. Y'all go visit that website right there. Y'all go wear that one. Let's see. Let me see what. I don't even got a clock. Oh, yeah, there's a clock right in front of me. Oh, Lordy, it's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. Yep, calorie burnout is going to be amazing. I think people severely underestimate what's gonna happen as far as that goes. We can touch on that again later. Let's see. All right, there, Mitch. We'll see you later. Yeah, I'm probably fixing to close this one down, guys. We've been going for a freaking, hour and a half. Yes, this is live for now, but it's fixing to not be live. Quasar, I don't know. Yeah, just a reminder, Das Sheep, if you're still logged in watching, hit that, send me that email. Um, I'd like to run something by you. Dave, now my biggest rant was at the first part of this on the freaking gun control stuff that's going on. Um, Pat, yeah, it's a conundrum because ounces equals pounds, but unfortunately you got to have those pounds to move, but then the pounds slow you down. It, it's a catch-22, you know. So, in my opinion, and it's just mine, you're better off moving slow. Which, again, if you're having to do that, you need to be going slow so you can see what's going on around you, and you don't just walk into something quicker than you can spot it. So going slow and carrying more weight to me is preferable than going light and trying to go real fast and then still potentially running into issues that cause me to be out longer than what I anticipated and then not having enough, if that makes sense. Now, again, I can only do what's right for me. Everybody else has got to do what's right for themselves. I just want everybody to look at the whole picture, give equal thought to everything, and then make your own personal call and judgment from there and drive on with it. That's all any of it can do. Quasar, you're welcome. John Smith, yes, Matt will be back. Louise, that's very interesting. Michael, I have to get in that to another one. Um, I don't know. As far as doing them every Sunday, this has just kind of been something I've been trying to do recently just to get caught up because it's like the only time I've got any free time in the afternoon. So um, I may try to. We'll see. It'll just depend. The next couple of weekends are going to be bonkers anyway. Um, I'll I'll text you, brother. I need to talk to you about some stuff anyway. So let's see. Craig, that's true, but like I said, hikers can get resupply just about anywhere at any time, even on the Appalachian Trail, as remote as it is. You're usually no more than about 2 days away from being able to get additional supplies should you need them. In a real bug out, if you got to go on foot, your your wow, I didn't post that. Why is that coming up? Anyway, you're not going to have supplies. You're not going to have resupply. Um, it's got me curious how that got posted because I sure didn't do it. Unless, I don't know, maybe YouTube's got a limit on here of how long you can do these. I don't know. Yeah, if they're using my name, they're using my logo too, so. Interesting. I'm going to keep a watch on that. Very interesting. Yeah, I see that. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. If I need to, I'll report that. Anyway, could be, because I got no problem pushing the button on idiots. I have a very low threshold of tolerance for them. All right, guys, I do need to wrap it up. We've rambled on way longer than we needed to, and it's getting late. So, appreciate you all tuning in. More than I expected for the afternoon. So, you guys take care. Have a good one. Like I said, I'll have the one new video up in the morning on the AUX. So, keep your eyes out for that. And hey, Don. Yep, you're a little bit late. I'm actually fixing to wrap this one up. So you guys stay safe, and we'll catch you in another one. I got to figure out